everyone, and welcome to the Crimson Stitchery, a video channel about making all things beautiful and useful. In this week's video, I'm really happy to be sharing with you my most recent knitting design, my latest knitting pattern, which has just been released. And if you subscribe to my newsletter, you will already have received a notification about this, one of the perks of being one of my newsletter readers. So if you'd like to get involved in that, do click into the down bar here on YouTube where you've got links to all of my various online endeavours. But I have made a hat. It's called Salvia, which means sage. And if you've been watching all of my videos so far this year, you'll have seen this hat crop up. I think it was in January. And this pattern's been a really long time in the making. So in this video, I'm going to be chatting a little bit more about the design, about the process, about the yarn, and there's also a discount code available if you'd like to buy the pattern, and it will be valid just for the first week of release, so keep watching to find out what that is. So now let's talk about the design. My partner took these absolutely beautiful photos in our garden at the weekend, and taking photographs of hats, it turns out, is actually quite challenging because you want it to be a photo of the hat, but because it's on your head, it sort of becomes a portrait and a beautiful image of one's face instead. And my partner does take really flattering pictures of me, which is really, I'm very fortunate that he has that interest in photography that I can milk. So yeah, we finally got around to taking the pictures. That's sort of another reason why the pattern got so delayed, because we couldn't find an opportunity to do the photography for time reasons, and also just the weather, because I wanted to do it outdoors. Viewers will know that plants and natural things are very important to me, and I like to have that sort of element in everything that I do, really. And it had just been raining a lot, when he had free time and stuff like that. So yeah, the one thing that I really discovered is that I feel like I've come up with a new colour combination of grey, orange and pale blue, which are the colours that I wore in the photo shoot, and that was like a really beautiful discovery. Like, wow, they come together really nicely. I didn't quite expect that. That sort of tangerine oranges. It reminds me of eating citrus outdoors on a park bench, looking up at a cloudy sky. So that's the photo shoot, and then the hat itself has got this really satisfying twisted rib cable effect. It's much flatter than a normal kind of cable, which you might think that would really stand out, but it's kind of sinks into the background a little bit more in a really fascinating way. I really like it. It's not the most straightforward cable to do because you've got to work the rib as well as doing the twist. So if anyone is, intrigued but not 100% confident about your cabling experience, just knit a swatch. Just knit a swatch. Just laughing because I did that whole swatching series over the last couple of months that hopefully you'll have caught. But if you're new to the channel, there's a link on screen there now. But yeah, just do a little swatch and just figure out the best way of doing it for you, that works for you. And I named the hat Salvia after sage, that's the botanical name for the sage family, because I just loved the idea of just having that pick-me-up, especially through the winter. The pick-me-up of the scent of a herb that's evergreen, which I've been really grateful for. And actually my sage bushes managed to survive despite the snow and stuff like that, whereas some of my thyme plants sadly succumbed to frost. So my sage is really hardy. And I feel like that idea translates really nicely as a metaphor into knitting, and looking at knitting as a little pick-me-up. So I hope that you like this style. The other thing to say about it is that, like many of my accessories designs, I do intend for it to be unisex. And in fact, my partner's been wearing this, going to work and so on recently, and looking lovely in it. And what he commented on was the fact that the hat, was nice and toasty on the outside, but when he then went into the underground to get the tube and the train, the metro, to work, it wasn't too hot and he could leave it on. So I think it's really interesting that this yarn, which is a natural rustic yarn actually does the temperature regulation really easily, and he's the type of person that doesn't always wear hats because he finds it gets too hot. So I thought that was really interesting. I'd love in the future to be able to feature more of my accessories on people of, you know, differing genders. Actually, so if that is you, and you're a viewer or a reader or however you want to think about it, and you knit any of my patterns, then I'd be really interested to see them. You can tag me in my patterns on Instagram, you can upload them to Ravelry if you use that, or you could always send me an email. All those details are down below. And on Instagram I do always create branded hashtags for every pattern that I write, and I endeavour to include them in the patterns themselves so that you can find them and, you know, share your projects and see what other people have done and how other people have interpreted it. So the yarn, this yarn is really special. It's called Barn by Susan Crawford, and it's a really interesting pure wool that she developed on her farm in the north of England that is a natural grey colour and a blend of 3 different sheep fleeces: black Shetland, white Shetland, and another one. I'll put it on the screen here now. I'm not the most knowledgeable, I've got to say, when it comes to sheep breeds. I think that as a designer, you know, that's not the thing that's like at the top of my priority list, but I find it really interesting to learn more about it. And when I got this yarn, it's a DK weight yarn. Susan developed the yarn over a little while and then sent me a skein hank. I've known Susan for quite a while online. Susan years ago used to have an online knitting magazine, and I did a few patterns for her. It was a really long time ago, and subsequently, you know, went on to launch her amazing company with all of her amazing books. She does all the vintage knitting books, the Stitch in Time, Vintage Shetland Project and stuff that I've talked about on this podcast quite a lot. So I was really, really delighted to be able to work with her yarn and sort of work in this collaborative way with, you know, someone that I'd known for quite a while, actually, even though I've only met her once or twice. I think I met her at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, the first one, a long time ago again. So yeah, it's just a really, really nice thing to be able to do. And she sent me the yarn that was DK weight, as I said, and it was kind of like plump, and it was really fibrous and so on, and the interesting shade of grey. And it's quite a pale grey. I wouldn't normally go for this shade of grey for my colouring personally. So what I did, it took me quite a while to find the right project and the right stitch pattern for it. And the reason that this cable works so well is because it creates all of this shadow play. You can see it as I'm stretching it out more and more and more. That makes it really, really interesting. So the kind of dramatic and crisp nature of the twisted rib just brings something out of this yarn. And I had it for quite a while, as I said. It was like hanging on my wall at one point, just thinking about it. And another thing that I really love about it is that it actually smells like a sheep, despite now being yarn. And I understand that Susan's now releasing this yarn in a range of colours, which is even more exciting to me. But part of me is quite glad that I came up with this design whilst only one colour was available, because it can be fun, you know, to push yourself with those limits. Like if I just had this in like some of my favourite colours, I might not have explored different stitch patterns as hard, you know, as much to kind of really bring the potential out of it. So yeah, and then the other thing to note is that it's a pretty fitted beanie. But you really need a lot of negative ease in this pattern to stretch out the cables and get that effect of the colour play, as I mentioned. So I've written the pattern for 4 sizes, but really please don't be afraid to pick a size that looks really tiny against your head measurement, because you need it to stretch out. And then the other thing is, you know, if you wanted it to be longer, you know, not so fitted in the cap, or a little bit slouchier, you could just like knit another pattern repeat or knit the ribbing slightly longer. I don't think that would be that difficult at all. So yeah, I worked on this hat through the new year as we rung it in lockdown, and I wrote up the pattern relatively quickly. I graded it, popped it into, you know, 4 different sizes, and then that was all in January, and it just took a really, really long time to manage to release this pattern, because over the last few months, for people that are new to this channel, I started a Patreon account and really started thinking about how to develop the Crimson Stitchery in a kind of more serious and sustainable manner that will allow me to continue doing creative design work long term. And so as part of that, I wanted to do a big overhaul of my knitting patterns, and I managed to work with a really, really fantastic technical editor to just completely reformat them, basically, or maybe not completely redo it, but sort of just look at exactly what it was that I'd been doing and just find like the best ways of pattern writing that could just communicate things as clearly as possible to the knitter. And for anyone that has knitted my patterns before, hopefully you'll have realised that I like to try and communicate with a little bit of brevity. You know, I don't want things to be too wordy, because I think that it can actually be off-putting if a pattern is, you know, 25 pages long when it could have just been 10, or, you know, that's an exaggeration. But, you know, there are patterns where you get the file and it's just so many pages, and then you know, personally, I just think that could really have just, you know, a lot of separate the chaff from the wheat, you know, that really could have just, you know, got rid of a lot of waffling or whatever and just kind of cut straight to the point. But, you know, at the same time, if things are too brief, it can, you know, things can seem a bit ambiguous, or if knitters are a little bit less experienced, it can, you know, it is sort of worth trying to find a balance, basically, between how I do my instruction writing. And that's what my tech editor helped me do. As well as the kind of normal tech editing things like, you know, looking for typos and stuff like that, double checking everything. So all in all, it took quite a while to reformat the pattern. I also want to give a shout out to my absolutely fabulous graphic designer, June Jung, who I worked with to redevelop the logo for the Crimson Stitchery and come up with like colours and branding and so on and so forth. So thank you so much, June, for doing such an amazing job. And meanwhile, thank you so much to all of my viewers, my audience, who have been waiting for me to kind of get back into pattern writing and pattern releasing. As you can, you know, hopefully you understand, there's been so much that's been going on behind the scenes until things were just ready, and I just had to be patient and wait, which I found strangely difficult. I think just kind of transitioning from being a two-person team, because it is me and my partner, to suddenly getting you know, more people involved and just have a lot more going on. It was, you know, it was new, and I had to learn about that new process and sort of learn about how best to communicate that with you guys as well. So thank you so much for bearing with me and for your continued support. The last thing to say is that a discount code is available for 20% off this pattern. This code is Sage, and it's valid in my Ravelry and Payhip storefronts just till the end of this week, the first week of release. So please, if you want to save that 20%, please do enjoy that, you know, but, you know, act soon so that it doesn't expire, so that you don't forget. And just, you know, let me know what you think of this design. I'm really happy to be releasing more accessories design. As I've mentioned in my vlogs, I have so many plans. I actually have a huge pile of finished objects. And then when I kind of looked back at my design portfolio, it was quite dominated by socks, obviously. You know, socks was really most of the things that were in it. So I'm really excited to take this opportunity over the next year just to try and diversify and expand a little bit, and just show that, you know, through my own designs, like really demonstrate what a versatile knitter I am. So thanks so much for following along the journey, and thanks for watching, and stay tuned. The last thing just I wanted to say is that sorry that this video is going up slightly later than normal. It's because my partner kept wearing it to work, which I feel like is a really, really good sign. And that's kind of why I'm sharing it with you. It's like really positive that it's so successful that it keeps disappearing because it's being worn, it's in use, you know, it's not just kind of sitting on the side like a display object. So yeah, gonna sign off now. Stay tuned for more videos coming up. I'm planning a video where I'm going to discuss my attitude towards sustainability, zero waste and all of that kind of stuff, kind of in a more explicit manner, because I always allude to it in my videos, and I thought I'm going to do one that's dedicated to that. And then at the end of the month I'm going to do a vlog and talk about my projects, and I've got some stuff to share with you guys as well, just some like books and stuff like that I'm excited to share. So hope to speak to you soon. Let me know what you think of the hat, and don't forget the discount code. All right everyone, take care and happy knitting, and see you at the Crimson Stitchery soon.